You know, when we drop our kids off at school, or when we walk through those front doors as employees ourselves, we naturally expect a certain standard. We expect safety, professionalism, and care. But have you ever stopped to wonder how that standard is actually maintained across an entire state? Well, today in this explainer, we're unpacking the Pennsylvania professional ethics ecosystem to see exactly how these critical standards operate on the ground. Let's dive in.
Now, we need to start by addressing the elephant in the room and tackling a massive misconception head-on. When most people hear the phrase educator ethics, they immediately picture a classroom teacher standing up at the whiteboard. But think about it. If we only apply these crucial safety and conduct rules to teachers, we're leaving massive, gaping holes in the safety net of our school environment.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Pennsylvania completely redefines the term professional educator. It literally includes every single adult employed in a school entity. We're talking about licensed educators for sure, but also paraprofessionals, school administrators, the coaches out on the field, the administrative assistants working the front office, and the custodians keeping the halls clean. Everyone is on the hook. Every single employee is an integral, absolutely essential part of this ethical ecosystem.
So, to understand how this massive ecosystem actually works, we are going to break down 5 crucial areas today. Number 1, who follows the rules? Number 2, ethics versus conduct. Number 3, commitment to student safety. Number 4, the school community ecosystem. And finally, number 5, setting digital boundaries.
Okay, starting with Section 1, who follows the rules? The mandate for all school employees.
So where do these sweeping rules come from? Well, under the Pennsylvania Department of Education's mandate, the Chapter 49 amendments require comprehensive training in professional ethics across the board. And this isn't just a casual suggestion. It's heavily baked right into the certification and professional development programs for educators statewide. The framework demands that all these incredibly diverse roles we just talked about understand the exact same baseline of values and principles to guide their daily decision-making.
Moving on to Section 2, ethics versus conduct, and understanding the two frameworks.
There are actually 2 completely distinct frameworks at play here, and understanding the difference is a real game changer. Think of the Model Code of Ethics for Educators as your compass. These are your high-level guiding principles and values that help you navigate tricky situations and frame your professional decision-making. On the flip side, you have the PA Code of Professional Practice and Conduct. That is your scale of justice. These are the strict enforceable standards. If you violate the conduct code, you aren't just making a poor ethical choice, you are actually breaking the rules and facing potential disciplinary actions.
Let's look at Section 3, commitment to student safety, which is really about protecting the core.
At the very heart of both these frameworks is the concept of boundaries. The guidelines define boundaries as the verbal, physical, emotional, and social distances that provide structure, security, and predictability. This means you have to deeply understand your role, the time, and the place. The crucial point here is that maintaining these boundaries is the primary obligation for every single staff member. A custodian, an administrative assistant, and a principal all share the exact same duty to maintain these distances to ensure a fully secure and predictable environment for the students.
So, what does this actually look like day to day? Well, it means interacting transparently and only in appropriate settings. It requires culturally sensitive communication, absolutely shielding students from any practice that harms them or exposes them to disparagement, and demanding consistent and equitable treatment for everyone. And of course, doing all of this while keeping their personal data and educational records completely confidential.
I really want to emphasize this next point because there is an absolute zero-tolerance policy for sexual misconduct or inappropriate relationships. The text of the guidelines is unambiguous here. There are literally no circumstances that allow for educators to engage in romantic or sexual relationships with students. And this absolute boundary extends further, considering the severe ramifications of entering into an adult relationship of any kind with a former student. The safety and well-being of the student is always paramount.
Which brings us to Section 4. The school community ecosystem, involving colleagues, parents, and the profession. Because, a healthy school relies on healthy adult interactions too. How does this commitment extend beyond the students? Well, every employee is responsible for maintaining civility with colleagues and keeping the workplace entirely free from harassment. If conflicts pop up, they need to be resolved privately and professionally. This entire ecosystem also relies on absolute honesty. That means protecting intellectual property, ensuring airtight security around standardized tests, and avoiding any gifts or favors that might even appear to influence your professional judgment. We also have to be super vigilant about what the framework calls multiple relationships. This happens when you have both a professional and a personal affiliation with a community member. Think about a teacher who happens to be best friends with a student's parent, or maybe a coach who runs a private side business with a school vendor. These situations are highly problematic because they can seriously impair your objectivity and diminish your professional effectiveness. You always have to weigh the risks before engaging in them.
And just as a quick reminder of the authority behind all of this, failing to support this ecosystem has very real, very serious consequences. The Pennsylvania Professional Standards and Practices Commission has the power to initiate disciplinary proceedings for code violations. These penalties can range from a public or private reprimand all the way up to the total suspension or even revocation of your employment eligibility.
Finally, let's move to Section 5, setting digital boundaries and navigating the modern frontier. Let's see how all of these boundaries apply to technology and social media. Whether you're an admin assistant managing digital records or a coach texting practice times to a team, your personal and professional digital lives must remain strictly separate. You need to use social media transparently and strictly according to district policy. You must be constantly vigilant in identifying and reporting cyberbullying or illegal materials. And crucially, you have to protect privileged student data from being shared with any unintended third parties.
And when it comes to the specifics of electronic communication, the Conduct Code is incredibly clear. Any electronic communication that flirts, conceals intent, contains inappropriate jokes, or comments on the physical attractiveness of a student is strictly forbidden for all staff. It simply doesn't matter if it's a text message, an email, or a direct message on a mobile app. The boundary is absolute.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a crucial thought. These ethical guidelines aren't just HR red tape. They're the literal blueprint for a safe community. So, whether you are a custodian, a secretary, a paraprofessional, or a principal, the big question remains, are your daily boundaries actively protecting this fragile ecosystem, or are you putting it at risk? Ultimately, your daily choices and your unwavering professionalism are what keep our schools safe. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this vital topic today.